Don't let him pull his badge.
Baby Bing headed your way.
Hey, my name is Rhonda Glover Reese.
Rhonda served in the FBI for over 34 years. She's now a law enforcement consultant and certified career coach.
Today, I'll be breaking down clips from movies and television about surveillance. Blowing cover, Donnie Brasco.
Jesus, Joe. That's Holman, U.S. Attorney coming at us. The guy on the right.
Joe Pistone.
Don't worry.
Joe Pistone? Remember me? Southern District.
And watching that clip, it just took me back when I was working as an undercover agent. Joe trained me. He's a legend in the Bureau as an undercover.
Hey, what are you doing? Grab my...
The key thing is to understand is that when an undercover agent is in a role, they have to continue in that role as much as possible. What he did in the film, hitting that assistant United States attorney, that was fine. He's building a case and he was able to maintain his role without giving up his cover.
Don't call me Joe and then I'll cut your throat. You understand?
If that undercover agent is in another role and he has another name, then you call them by that name. So what happened in that clip, it was completely appropriate.
Forget about it.
Following the family, The Sopranos.
Unit 1, this is Control. Baby Bing headed your way. Unit 5, do you have visual contact of Princess Bing?
Roger, Control.
They are going into the house, so they want to make sure everybody's out the house. They want to know where everybody is.
Unit 4, in approximately 1 minute, you'll have the maid, Gray Jetta. SC team, the location reads secure. You have 1 hour and 30 minutes.
It is incredibly important for the agent that was in the van.
Baby Bing headed your way.
That agent had the eye. That agent had the responsibility to really monitor who's coming in and out. It was important for him to stay focused. You want to have all the tools that you need to have in your car.
Unit 2, you got Bada Bing headed your way. Excuse me.
You want to have your food. You want to have your snacks. You want to have everything charged up, your radio charged up. You want your phone charged up. You want to have your surveillance kit. That's what I like to call it. You know, you want to have your go bag in the event that you're going to be sitting for a long, long time.
Control, we are working on entry. Estimate 3 or 4 minutes.
I've been on kidnapping investigations where the surveillance is like 24 hours.
Furio Junta Cadillac DTS returning. Went past me up the street about 5 minutes ago.
So when you're doing a surveillance, you take surveillance notes and you have a log. So in that log, you want to indicate who left, where they're leaving from, and the time that they're leaving. All the information that you need to give you a clear picture of the movement of whoever you are surveilling.
We're finished for today here, ladies and gentlemen.
Cover story, Miss Congeniality.
Hey. Oh, Jesus Christ! Ah!
Sorry, I had a bite of my bagel and I forgot to pray.
Sandra Bullock in her character, she was incredibly quick on her feet to come up with that quick prayer.
Oh, it's not working. No, what do you mean it's not working?
5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was working before.
The listening devices and the earpieces and all of those things should be checked and double checked before actually using them.
Oh, dear Jesus.
Throughout the film, they've looked at her as being a little different. So by doing something like that, that was just totally in character.
She thinks I'm funny.
And I applaud her for thinking so quickly on her feet.
Please forgive me for not praying before I had a bite of my bagel and schmear.
Well, it worked. It worked for everybody in the room.
Thank you very much.
Amen.
Front and follow, The Wire.
We're gonna play that spy game. Do you remember the spy game?
Yeah, who's it?
That tall black guy over there.
I'm the front, you're the follow.
Front and follow is just a surveillance technique. You'll have someone in front of the subject that you're surveilling, and you'll have someone in back. They're really spot on, but one thing that I really picked up on, the older brother, He got a little bit close to someone seeing him write down the license plate number.
Sean, shush.
When you're doing a surveillance, you must be very, very discreet because you don't want people to see who you're following, and you don't want anyone to see that you're writing down tags. Now, you probably should not use your kids to do police work, but they did an okay job.
My flesh and blood.
Backstory Imperium.
I was in the Marines for 3 years on a WMD squad in Iraq, and I'm starting to wonder. No.
In this clip, Daniel Radcliffe is preparing to infiltrate a white supremacist group.
I was in the Marines for 3 years on a WMD squad in Iraq. But I saw a lot of things over there that changed me.
He's on his way to being a very, very good undercover. He was coached before he went in.
Not bad.
He's got a new identity. He's got a new place to live. You're going to be next to the subjects and the targets of that investigation. You're going to be right in the thick of things. And so you want to have as much information as possible. And if that means doing an incredible amount of research, then you need to do that so you can be prepared, so you don't get tripped up. The key thing is that he has to be mindful of who he is on the inside and remember that he is playing a role and not to get too deep into that role that he loses himself. And that's why it's important that the handlers, the agents that are going to be working with him, that they watch over him to make sure that he's okay.
I'm only so hard on you because I'm trying to protect you.
Recording device, the informant.
We need some specific number.
Well, what would you be willing to accept? Isn't that really the question?
That ADM has already eaten all the growth.
In this clip, Matt Damon's character is really messing with the recording device.
We could be growing 20,000 tons.
I'm going in.
Mark,
We gotta shut this down.
No, wait, hold on.
I need your information.
I think he's got it.
In real life, he would not have access to it. All he or she needs to know is that they're going to carry this in, and this is going to be with them. They don't need to know how it works. They don't need to be touching it. They don't need to be doing anything with it at all. They're not going to be able to take apart a briefcase and touch the device because they're tampering with it.
No. Mark, no. No.
You want to be able to say in a court of law that that source didn't have anything to do with the recording apparatus.
Jury's gonna love that.
You don't want to even have to address that question.
This can all be used against you in a court of law.
Educating rookies in too deep.
You the new kid on the block, man. You got to earn your stripes, baby.
Make me proud.
All right. No problems.
Yo.
Show me where the kid at.
Omar Epps and his character serving as an undercover officer, acting in that undercover capacity, he did a great job because he knew that he was being tested.
What they really want you to prove is that you're not a cop.
You know, he's a police officer, so he knew he had to come up with a way that he could show them he would do whatever he needed to do to demonstrate to the guys that he was part of them.
You ain't hit him yet? Come on.
He must know how to shoot very, very well because he ensured that he was firing that weapon very, very badly. He's intentionally counting his rounds, and they're just like, man, you can't shoot.
You can't shoot work night. Yo, I had the kid right there, man. But my boy got crazy hard.
He's crazy. He can't shoot. We can't ask him to shoot because he's not going to get it done. Agents and officers, when they are acting in an undercover capacity, there may come a time where they may have to break the law, but they're going to have permission in order to do that.
Your life depends on split-second decisions.
That was a really good scene for him to demonstrate that you could still be part of the group in an undercover capacity and not get anyone hurt.
Is that play school enough for you to understand?
Shaking a tail, casino.
You see, if a phone's tapped, the feds can only listen in on the stuff involving crimes. So on routine calls, they have to click off after a few minutes.
Yeah, I get a sprained elbow.
Robert De Niro's character was talking about minimization. You have to be very, very careful and very, very intentional when you're doing a wiretap.
Yeah. Name me a tree.
Anytime anyone's on that phone and they're talking about anything outside of the criminal activity that's taking place, you are supposed to turn that recording off.
I gotta do some shopping afterwards. You wanna go?
And so they wait a few minutes and then they turn the recording back on. You're checking in on that conversation to make sure they continue to talk about things that are non-pertinent.
Okay, he's out. It's the ground unit.
And looking at that scene where the agent was in the window and he had this huge, massive radio, I'm just grateful that I didn't have to deal with a huge radio like that during surveillance.
Nicky couldn't even go for a ride without changing cars at least 6 times before he could shake all his tails. And because of all the planes, he had to use underground garages.
Joe Pesci's character is really trying to shake the FBI. He knows that he's being followed. The FBI knows that he's incredibly surveillance conscious. So they're going to be mindful of that. One thing that Joe Pesci's character cannot do is change his face. He's driving all these cars. He's switching all these cars, but it's still him in these cars. So while Joe Pesci is doing his best to evade surveillance, the FBI is doing their due diligence.
I see you motherfucker.
First contact, Black Klansman.
Yeah, who's this?
Ron Stallworth here.
This is Walter, returning your call. From the organization?
The organization.
Well, your first contact, you definitely want to use a phone that is not connected to the law enforcement agency that you work for. That's one thing.
That's your real name, right? Is it Ron Stallworth, right? Isn't that his real name?
Secondly, you do not want to use your real name.
Oh, motherfucker.
You don't want to use anything that's going to tie you back to law enforcement.
I'm interested in receiving some reading materials from you.
It was very, very clear that he was just taking a chance. He didn't think anybody would call him back.
What's your story?
So now he's going to have to remember everything that he said because it very well can actually come back sometime during the investigation.
Well, since you asked, my sister, Pamela, she was just recently accosted.
The point here is that you have to be ready. You got to get ready to be ready because you never know when they're going to call.
Well, good luck, Ron, with your new redneck friend.
Raid gone wrong. Point Break.
Scooby? Come on, Scooby! Here, Scooby! Scooby!
Oh. Yeah, what?
Hi.
Oh.
This was, no. You would, no.
Have you seen my dog? I got a little dog I'm missing. It's a cockapoo-like thing. He's got his nose.
About your dog. He's just not convincing. If you're going to have someone show up and take on that type of role, you don't want them to be like Gary Busey.
Well, is there anybody else around who's seen it?
They're going to be very, very humble about looking for their dog.
Okay, here's how it is. Babbitt and Alvarez are going to go in the back door. Cullen's going to back me up. I want you at the side window by the hedge.
Having a raid in the middle of the day is not the optimum time to conduct a raid. People are up, people are moving around. You're going to make sure that the gentleman that is mowing the lawn, that he is secure and he is out of the way.
Cullen, this is Utah. Get Angelo out of there. They're pulling out a fucking arsenal. Utah, repeat. Say again.
4 agents is not enough to address the subjects in that house. Then you have Keanu Reeves. He doesn't even have a raid jacket on.
What a flake.
You need everyone fully identified as FBI agents.
FBI, drop it! F you!
You're going to have SWAT. You're going to have some heavy firepower to back your team up the best way possible.
You're the real cowboys, right? Batman and Robin?
Wanting out, The Departed.
I'm going nuts, man. I can't be someone else every day. It's been a year of this. I've had enough of this.
What happens when an undercover officer or agent has demonstrated that they've had just too much and they want to get out, then you have to be responsible as a law enforcement officer to get them out.
Calm down, all right? Most of the people in the world do it every day.
Mark Wahlberg's character was not helpful one bit.
Now, we're the only two people on the face of this earth that even know you're a cop. How about we just erase your file?
He's saying that they're in charge. They're in charge of his life. That's not going to make any undercover feel good when you have somebody that's not supportive.
That was a joke. Come on.
As an undercover, you could possibly start having all kinds of feelings and your intuition may kick in.
When are you going to take Costello, huh? I mean, what's wrong with taking him on any one of the million f***ing felonies that you've seen him do or I've seen him do?
But the bottom line is that you have to have the evidence. You have to have the information that supports what you're feeling.
We are building a case, and it takes time. You know that. Something's wrong. I'm telling you, something's wrong.
Something is not right, and he can't put his finger on it. That is a clue for the other officers to really support him and start asking those questions and start figuring it out.
Yeah, maybe.
Counter surveillance killing Eve. When looking at her skills, she was on point. She slows down so he could catch up. She knew that he was following her, and so she drew him in. Sometimes you get tunnel vision, and you're not aware of your surroundings, and you're not mindful of who could be following you or what that person actually can be doing. He had no business going into that club. It was just so populated, so many people just dancing around and having a good time, and then it's loud. It's not a good place to be. The key thing is that you know the person that you're following. You have some idea of who they are, what they're capable of. And she was the victor at the end. Recording a conversation. The conversation.
What do you think?
I always think that he was once somebody's baby boy. And where are his mother or his father, all his uncles now? Anyway.
Surveillance vans, they're not just a Hollywood thing. They are still being used to conduct surveillances. Gene Hackman's character, he was overdressed. He could at least put on a jumpsuit that has the business identified on the jumpsuit. You know, you have to think about those things. Who's watching you when you're watching? You want to blend in as much as possible. You don't want to stand out. And he stood out.
About the second position.
It's not so good.
It is a possibility for you to hear a conversation from that far away. They had all these different vantage points, and they had different people in different places. They're going to put all that together so you can hear what's what.
We heard. Oh, did we hear?
Informant, Law and Order, SVU.
Hypnosis doesn't make people do something they don't already want to do. So, if she kissed you, she wanted to.
Sounds like he's rationalizing.
The officers of the SVU are using this informant to garner information from this target.
Did you teach Trask how to hypnotize people?
I taught him everything I know.
Huh. Well, are you willing to help us now?
The reason why law enforcement would get someone that's close to that subject and ask them to help, because that target knows them very, very well, and they're going to drop their guard and they're going to be able to share information.
Come on, Declan, are you saying that you've used hypnosis to have sex?
It's not a big deal.
But the key thing is the person that law enforcement has asked to step up, it's, do they know how to do it?
When's the last time you did this?
And so, like, towards the end of that conversation, he gave that guy a side eye. He's looking at him like, are you recording me?
I got it wrong.
You have to be very, very clear to them about how they should do it, the kind of things they should say, the things that they should not say in order to have a conversation with a target.
Look deep into my eyes. You're under arrest.
Planning the heat. Well, Sandra Bullock is playing an FBI agent. It appears that she is the team leader on the execution of this arrest and search.
Wait for my 3 count. And 1, 2. Unbelievable.
She's just out of line. She's not on the SWAT team, so she's not going to be close to SWAT. Allow the SWAT team to do what the SWAT team was there to do and get out of their way.
Well, the place is clean, Ashburn. Looks like your theory has a few holes in it. Let's roll, boys.
What's interesting about Sandra Bullock's character is that she is clearly someone that nobody wants to work with.
So you think it's clean, huh?
Oh, here we go.
I know that as an agent, a former agent, I would not have wanted to work with her.
You know, they loved these houses during the Prohibition era. People loved to drink it even though they weren't supposed to, and these houses had all these little nooks and crannies where they could hide it. Like this one.
She could have easily said, you know, you want to look at this location, you want to look here. She had that information before she got there, that that's a possibility. And so she could have shared that.
Maybe these guys are right for a change. Stranger things have happened, right, guys?
She knows what she's doing, but she's full of herself. And she's not a team player. You don't want to be that agent where people don't want to work with you.
Let's go!
Conclusion.
You can tell when they have someone on staff or that's part of the team that they've got a law enforcement background and they're able to share what you can do and what is real and what is not and what's going to fly and what's going to make sense.